I'd like to call the Ways and Means Committee meeting to order, please. Philip Stockin, Chair of the committee. I think we have enough in the room for a quorum. Let's have a roll call, please.
Mr. Stockin,
Present.
Mr. Fanton, Mr. Curran, Mr. Decker,
Here.
Mr. Havey,
Here.
Mr. Healy,
Here.
Mrs. Hopkins,
Here.
Mrs. Root,
Here.
Mr. Crandall. 7 members present.
Thank you. Next item, approval of the minutes from August 18th. They were distributed to you. Could we have a motion, please? Mr. Decker, support Mr. Havey. Are there any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And they're carried. Minutes of August 23rd. Motion, Mrs. Root. Second, Mr. Fanton. Are there any questions? Comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And they're carried. And finally, the minutes of September 1 meeting. Motion, Mr. Healy. Second, Mr. Decker. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And that's carried. Approval of the audit is next. We had them emailed to us yesterday, and they're on your desk. Is there a motion, Mrs. Root? Second, Mr. Decker. Are there any questions about the audit? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And that's carried. County Administrator Knapp, why don't we go to the committee referrals and we'll come back to this? So
Okay.
the first one then would be Human Services.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Stockin. Public Health Director Tyler Shaw is requesting a permission to fill one full-time temporary health coordinator, that's PEF Grade 5. This will support the school reopenings by coordinating COVID-19 testing and other responsibilities pertaining to COVID. The position is 100% funded with federal ELC school reopening grant funds, and I move that for acceptance.
Move Mrs. Hopkins, second Mr. Healy. Are there questions? Any comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And that's carried. Next.
Mr. Shaw is requesting permission to fill one full-time temporary typist, that's AFSCME Grade 4. This will also support the school reopenings with COVID assistance, testing, equipment, supplies, and compiling grant deliverables. It is 100% funded with federal funds, and I move that for acceptance.
Move Mrs. Hopkins, second Mr. Fanton. Are there any questions, comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And that's carried.
Mr. Shaw is also requesting permission to fill 2 full-time temporary registered nurses, that's NICENA Grade RN. They would primarily be working to support the requirements of the Federal Epidemiology and Laboratory Capacity Grant, which will include COVID-19 testing, vaccination, contact tracing, and other COVID duties. It's 100% funded with federal funds, and I move that for acceptance.
Moved by Mrs. Hopkins, second Mr. Decker. Any questions or comments for discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And that's carried.
And Mr. Shaw is requesting permission to extend the 4 temporary part-time office aide positions. Previously, these were due to sunset on June 30th, but the federal grant funds have been extended, and the health department is in need of these positions until the grant funds are depleted. So I move that for acceptance.
Mrs. Hopkins with the motion, Mr. Havey with the support. Are there questions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And that's carried.
Office of the Aging Director Anita Madison is requesting permission to fill 1 full-time, that's 25 hours a week, aging service technician, that's AFSCME Grade 13. This will offer insurance counseling through the Medicare counseling program and perform in-home assessments to determine the needs and eligibility for various programs. This position is 100% filled with state funds, and I move that for acceptance.
Move Mrs. Hopkins, support Mrs. Root. Any questions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
And opposed? And that's carried.
Ms. Madison is requesting a resolution to accept and appropriate supplemental funding in the amount of $119,300 from the Unmet Needs Grant. That the distribution is on your information, and I move that for acceptance.
Motion, is there support? Mr. Fanton, are there any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And that's carried.
Ms. Madison is requesting a resolution to increase New York State Connect's expansion and enhancement budget by $24,000. This is necessary to draw down and allocate and spend the entirety of the grant dollars that were awarded to the Office of the Aging, and the budget is $24,000 allocated as on your paper, and I move that.
Moved Mrs. Hopkins, support Mrs. Root. Are there any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's carried.
Ms. Madison is requesting a resolution to increase the expanded in-home services for the elderly program with a budget of $70,000. This is necessary to draw down on the grant dollars that were awarded to the Office of the Aging, and I move that on for acceptance.
Motion, Mrs. Hopkins, second, Mr. Decker. Are there any questions or? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And that's carried.
Ms. Madison is also requesting a resolution to increase the community services for the elderly budget by $6,000. This is necessary to again draw down the entirety of the grant dollars that were awarded to OFA, and the budget is shown in your information. I move that for acceptance.
Move Mrs. Hopkins, second, Mrs. Root. Are there any questions, discussion on this one? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's carried.
Ms. Madison is requesting a resolution to accept a donation of $2,000 from the Allegheny County Senior Foundation on behalf of the United Way. This is being administered to support vouchers to be used by seniors at local farmers markets for fresh fruits and vegetables. And again, that total is $2,000, and I move that for acceptance.
Moved Mrs. Hopkins, second, Mr. Fanton. Are there any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And that's carried.
And finally, Community Services Director, Dr. Robert Anderson, is requesting the following 2021 budget adjustment to appropriate additional state aid in the amount of $18,100 from the New York State Office of Addiction Services and Support. And again, that amount is $18,100, and I move that for acceptance.
Motion moved by Mrs. Hopkins, second, Mr. Decker. Are there any questions on this one? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And that's carried. Are you sure that's it, Mrs. Hopkins?
Yes, it is. Thank you, Mr. Stockin.
Public Safety, Mr. Healy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have two items here under public safety. The first is District Attorney Keith Slepp is requesting permission to fill one part-time investigator, non-union position. The position supports the state-mandated aid to prosecution program. The annual salary of this position is estimated at $25,000 and is funded 100% with state funds. And that's further laid out in the attached RFP, which you will find enclosed in your packet there. And I will move that.
Moved by Mr. Healy. Is there support, Mr. Havey? Are there questions?
I have a comment on that.
Okay.
County Administrator?
The 25,000 is incorrect. That's not the salary for the DA investigator. DA investigator, I believe, is 15,000. So I don't know how the 25,000 got put on there. 15,000 is what's covered under the grant. I don't know if the grant will cover more or not. In order to increase the salary, you'll need a separate resolution increasing the salary.
Well,
Just so you, I apologize, I was not here last week when it came to public safety.
right. I see it was signed off by all the necessary authorities.
I missed
on-
that it was 25, not 15.
But,
signed.
so what's your pleasure, Madam Administrator? Would you like us to table that, or would you like us to amend it, or?
At the very least, I think you need to amend it to the correct salary.
Okay. Well, I'll make a motion to amend that to the 15,000 is,
Okay, Mr. Healy moves it, Mr. Fenton seconds. We're changing the amount in this from 25,000 to 15,000. Are there questions? All in favor of the amendment?
Aye.
Opposed? The amendment is carried. Now we have to vote on the resolution with the amended figure of 15,000 in it. Mr. Healy moves it.
it was moved and seconded, I believe, right?
Did
Or
we
no?
second it already? I don't think so. We did? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And that's carried.
And next up, we have another request. This one is from Sheriff Rick Whitney. He's requesting permission to fill one full-time correction officer as Council 82 bargaining unit, grade 55. The step is base. This position is required to meet minimum New York State staffing requirements. The annual salary of this position is estimated at $46,914.02, with benefits estimated at $18,339.86. This position is funded 100% with county funds and is laid out further also in an attached RFP, which was also signed off by all the required authorities, the department head, county administrator, and deputy personnel officer. So I'll move that, Chairman.
Motion, Mr. Healy, second, and Mr. Decker. Any questions on this one? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And that's carried. Thank you, sir. Public Works Committee, Mr. Fenton.
Public Works Superintendent Justin Henry is requesting permission to fill one full-time motor equipment operator, grade 11, and all subsequent positions, including hiring from the outside. This position is responsible for the maintenance and operation of trucks with tandem rear axles or fuel dispensing trucks, as well as hauling material and roadside maintenance. The annual salary of this position is estimated between $35,415.19 and $43,341.87, with the benefits estimated between $13,836.71 and $16,993.67. This position is funded 100% with county funds, and I will move it.
Moved by Mr. Fenton, seconded by Mr. Havy. Do we have any questions on this resolution? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And that's carried. Thank you. That's all the referrals I'm aware of. If there are others. Okay, let's back up then to the county administrator with a resolution for approval of the distribution settlement agreement.
Thank you. This is another settlement agreement out of our opioid lawsuit. So we just did one a little while ago against one defendant, which I believe was Johnson & Johnson, and that was best case scenario around $200,000. This is against three of the distributors, and I apologize, I don't have it in front of me to list off the distributors, but best case scenario on this is a little over 1.2 million. So I'm asking that we move forward, accept the settlement offer, and get a resolution at the next board meeting authorizing Mr. Minor to sign those as the county attorney and get those back to our outside counsel.
Is this, am I correct in understanding that payment of that amount, it comes over 18 years? Or is there possibly more like tobacco?
I don't have it in front of me, so I can't comment on the number of years, but yes, it has a cutoff date. Well, that's just the MOE. There's a full agreement that's very long. There would be a bigger payment up front, a little over 200,000 best case scenario in February of 2022 for this, and then the rest would be over time.
Mrs. Hopkins?
I'll
Okay,
move it.
motion, Mrs. Hopkins, second, Mr. Havy. Are there further comments or questions? Kind of like finally, huh?
There are more defendants out there, so hopefully we'll see more of these to come.
Okay, seeing nothing else, all in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye.
And opposed? And that's carried. Thank you. Any old business? New business? Go to the order, Mr. Healy?
Why don't we take about a 5-minute break and then we'll meet for caucus in our usual location.
Okay, caucus in 5 minutes. Anything else? A motion to adjourn is in order. Mr. Decker moves it. Mr. Havey seconds. All in favor of adjournment?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. We are done.